watching the Stalinist show trial Lynching?
Well, unfortunately, I'm catching some of it, yeah.
This witch goes up there. She's a well-known activist. She's part of the Me Too movement, wearing vaginas on her head, shrieking in Washington, traveling all around, Soros-funded, Soros connections, lawyers funded by Soros, from Santa Cruz, the far left wing of the universe, egged on to do this to save abortion. It's all political. Coached forever to look credible, told what to wear, how to sit, how to pretend she's a traumatized victim. Can't remember anything useful, no facts, no time, no place, no nothing. The people she puts there say they weren't there. They signed sworn affidavits. As soon as Grassley brought those to the table, the Democrats interrupted, trying to hide that fact that she has nobody corroborating her story. She's up there crying and acting like the fragile victim. Well, why doesn't Kavanaugh get to parade his two little traumatized girls and his traumatized wife and his destroyed life and career, and let's all cry on his side, too? This is a Stalinist show trial where you can bring an unfounded accusation and have a whole bunch of emotional rubbish going on, none of which amounts to a hill of beans, and destroy a person's career over an unfounded accusation. And the follow-up accusations are worse than the first. So uncredible, they're laughable.
I've never heard a feminist university professor sound like a schoolgirl.
Oh, yeah, sound like a little girl who doesn't know what's happening. What a load of trash. This is just crap.
Well, I think I was there. Yeah, what a speech pattern. Like that one's going to be teaching kids in the university. I challenge her students to verify that that's her pattern of speech in class.
Well, she's been coached.
Yep.
They put this off and put this off and put this off to coach every aspect of her presentation. It's pure shit because they told her to scrub her websites of all her hate speech against Trump and the fact that she wanted somebody to make unverified sexual accusations against Gorsuch. What does this say about her character? She's a foaming at the mouth, leftist, raging bitch, and they've totally scrubbed her background and personality. Why does the investigation only go one way, into every nook and cranny of Kavanaugh's life? Oh, yeah, he was drunk in high school. Wow, big surprise. A teenager who's drunk in high school. I'm shocked. Shocked, I say. No, I'm not. And that doesn't prove he did any kind of sexual assault on anybody. And to confabulate the two is deceitful garbage by the left, by the Democrats.
Yep, apparently
so
it's on
this whole thing is a Stalinist show trial. You're guilty just because someone accused you. You don't have a right to defend yourself. You can't call witnesses in your defense. You can't turn the Congress into a trial. You can't do anything. You just have to sit there and listen to the drama that the Democrats have played out with their favorite star witness, actress, piece of shit activist. I despise these people. They're evil.
Well, you know what? 100%.
Set up from the beginning.
Well, 100% of Democrats lie all day and all night. But
Of course, or they wouldn't be Democrats.
But it takes a special breed to find the bearing false witness. I mean, that is a seriously friggin' vile.
Oh, this woman who's pretending to be so fragile and on the verge of tears, she's a foaming, raging, evil feminist bitch. She's a left-wing activist with ties to Soros and Antifa. They've scrubbed her, turned her into somebody she isn't. Where's her family? Where are her friends? Who is speaking in favor of what she's saying? Nobody. They don't have one person who really knows her up there corroborating what she said, because they would have to scrub those people and their backgrounds too. You know a person by their friends. And she is surrounded by left-wing nutcase, hate-filled activist goons. Maybe her family wants nothing to do with her because of who she is. She has no one there corroborating this fabrication. If anything happened, she suddenly glued the names of 3 people onto this incident, which probably never happened because she can't remember anything relevant other than, oh yeah, it was Kavanaugh and Judge and some other woman she named who have sworn affidavits saying it never happened. Totally not credible. And I don't like it that the Democrats get to grandstand all day long. We have to listen to their drivel.
Oh, yeah, and you got Kamala.
Oh, you're so
about,
brave. Yak, yak, yak. And you're all blah, blah, blah. And why this and why didn't the mean FBI do an investigation? Well, I like what Lindsey Graham said. Based on what? She can't give date, time, place, anything. What are they going to investigate? Well, what the left wants is another Mueller-style witch hunt to go into every nook and cranny of Kavanaugh's life and forget the false accuser. She's off limits because, poor victim woman.
Yes, and how outrageous that Kavanaugh wouldn't ask to be investigated. I'd like the IRS and the dem-infested deep state FBI to investigate my high school experiences, and maybe while they're at it, they can go back to junior high.
Well, maybe they can go back to kindergarten where he took a toy from another kid when he was 2. These idiots. And no investigation of the liar, her connections, her foul background, nothing. The fact that in her yearbook she bragged about having sex with 45 pigs, drunk all the time, party girl.
Do you know what else was? Somebody called into KSFO from Danville and said that he was good friends with somebody that dated her for 7 years somehow. And she lied all the time, stole from him. And
sure.
And the one thing that she did reveal in her conversations to him was that she was sexually abused by her father, which explains all the acting out through high school and how she turned into be.
Well, yes. Hey, and why let a good fiasco go to waste? The Democrats can turn this into a witch hunt against Kavanaugh. Forget who the real perpetrators were.
No, of course. She's a product of liberal parenting techniques.
Who are strangely silent. Where's her family? Where are the people who know her best other than her best friend who says it never happened? You know, what a crappy, crass, actor. Groomed to do this slander while she's being protected and coddled and treated like a poor victim. Meanwhile, she's destroying everything for real victims of sexual abuse because they are not going to be believed because of this bitch.
Yeah, it's real wonderful. That's it. Yeah, that's another real wonderful aspect of bearing false witness is you're basically making it more.
Yeah, they're discrediting the real survivors. And I'll tell you, most people have no clue how you tell a real, credible survivor from a liar. For instance, they never talk about the difference between ordinary memory and traumatic memory. They are 2 very different things. I studied this at UCLA. I had no idea what would happen later and how it became very important to when I was praying with real survivors of abuse who don't have any agenda except to heal. They're not out there making political statements and slandering people and angling for money. No, none of that. So traumatic memory burns the memory in great detail. If you experience a trauma, and they know this from studying war vets, trauma releases hormones that store every detail of a memory into your brain. There is no way if she had a trauma, or some guy tried to grope her, she wasn't even raped. I mean, the whole thing is insane. Her story is crap. I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many dumb teenage boys tried to grope me, and I just stopped going to parties because I didn't need to be around drunk bums who were trying to grope women. I had a friend, her parents were always gone. She was using their house as they'd get 2 kegs of beer. They had a pool. Everyone was rutting on the floors. They were rutting in her parents' bed. Totally disrespectful. They spiked, brownies with marijuana. They were drinking. Guys were having knife fights and broken up by the police over a woman. The whole thing was chaos. Pounding music, people acting like pigs everywhere. A big football player was kind of following me around, and he wanted to do it in the bushes with me. This is not trauma. Being groped is not trauma. She says she was afraid for her life. What, did they have guns to her head? That's bullshit. She was a party animal. Nothing she described in the least was threatening. If you go to those kind of parties all the time, I stopped going to gin parties because what was there for me? A bunch of drunken, potheads having sex all over the place and getting into fights and floating in the pool drunk. Not my idea of fun. Okay, but guys groping girls at parties like this, if you don't want that, don't go to those parties. This woman constantly went to parties like that and bragged about it. But anyway, back to what makes a memory of trauma more distinct than ordinary memory. Ordinary memory with ordinary body chemistry, it is not detailed. It fades over time. And it's just, that's why years later after an event, minor details might become fuzzy. Or even major details, especially if a person has a reason for not remembering them. So there's that. There's that kind of self-serving thing that happens with memories where people's defense mechanisms taint them. So, with a traumatic memory, trauma releases stress hormones, which burns the details of a memory into your brain. If she had real trauma, she'd remember every detail of this. Okay? She repressed the memory. She didn't dissociate it. Therefore, it's processed memory that over time can be tampered with by your defense mechanisms or outright lied about, which I think she's doing. Those memories have detail. War victims, they have detail. They remember details because it happens under stress. Now, when the stress threshold gets to a certain point, memory processing shuts down. This is what happens with PTSD, with dissociation. Suddenly, you're not processing anything that's going on. You went into trance state. You're like, if you're studying war veterans again, the guy who just saw his buddy blown up in front of him and pieces of the guy's teeth and face splatter all over him, he stops processing. He's just standing there in a state of shock, which is the basis of traumatic dissociation. Now, his war buddies who saw the event can tell you what happened, but the guy who dissociated, went into shock, he doesn't even remember what happened. He only has a memory gap because the memory stopped processing. He will relive it in flashbacks and then not recall them again when he's in his normal state of mind. This is based on state-dependent learning, where traumatic memory is isolated from ordinary memory because it was never processed. It's gone into a deep freeze state where the person doesn't have access to it in their normal waking memory and therefore cannot tamper with it with their defense mechanisms. It's a memory burned in by stress hormones, so it's highly detailed, but not available to their conscious waking state because there's no neuronal connection to it. It's stored in an entirely different way. It's in deep freeze. It can't be accessed unless you work with somebody who accesses trance state and processes the memory for the first time with you, and it becomes ordinary memory. People with dissociation do not recall the traumatic event until they access it and process it for the first time. And that can take a while. It can take successive sessions of processing that because it's too much. If you try to do it all at once, you redissociate the thing. You keep going into a state of trauma and redissociating it. So you process it in little pieces till the whole picture comes up. And the slower you process it, the smoother the processing rate, is. Because, like I said, if you try to do the entire trauma at once, say you were gang raped by 50 guys, remembering that all at once is just going to put you back in shock. So you process a little piece at a time, a little piece at a time, a little piece at a time. A lot of war veterans never get healed for their traumatic dissociation because most of the psychiatric profession doesn't know how to do this. They weren't trained it. They aren't taught about dissociative and traumatic memory. They don't know anything about it. And then you have idiots like Elizabeth Loftus writing about ordinary memory, confabulating that with traumatic memory, which she has no business doing because they're entirely different things, and then claiming that people who report abuse can't possibly remember it accurately. Memory fades over time, and your defense mechanisms work on it, like rationalizing, minimizing. There's all kinds of defense mechanisms. Remembering things that aren't quite there because they serve your ego. In any case, those memories can distort over time, but traumatic memories, dissociative memories, because they go into deep freeze, they do not change. They come out just the way they went in. They've never been tampered with. They don't dim. Reliving them is like being back in the middle of the trauma. So that's how you know it's a dissociative memory versus an ordinary memory. This woman claims she repressed her memories, which means they were processed memories that she shoved out of her mind, and her defense mechanisms could work on them over the years. Repression is the least reliable form of memory, recalled memory. Ordinary memory, we all know how unreliable that is, but repressed memory is even more unreliable because it's subject to distortion over time because of the emotional content of it. This woman, her stories lack details, therefore, she was not traumatized in the clinical sense of the word, where you go into a trance state and you dissociate. People might colloquially use the word trauma to describe something like that, but it's not technically or scientifically accurate. And people do that all the time. So because her memories lack detail, they're not traumatic memories. They're repressed memories at best, or total fabrications. Or, she took pieces of things that actually happened to her at parties and just strung them together. Because she was a drunken party animal, and that's in her background. I mean, you don't brag in your yearbook that you slept with 54 different guys in high school. Is this a normal person? Well, I lived in the 80s, and normal people I knew didn't sleep with 54 guys and brag about it. Yep. So anyway, so if you're saying it's in her background that her father molested her, then yeah, her behavior is acting out. That's one of the classic coping mechanisms. There's several different ways people deal with incest trauma. One is to act it out. Your body was meat to your dad. Hey, let it be meat to all guys. This is what you know. This is how you use your body. The drunkenness, that self-medication, the running around and being promiscuous is a classic reaction to molestation. Then there are people who shut down their sexuality. They just they're virtually asexual. They don't want to have anything to do with sex because it taps into the trauma, and they're not making a conscious decision. This is a subconscious decision. All of it is. So they just stay away from sex. Maybe they stay away from men. A lot of incest survivors decide, that they're lesbian because they don't like men. They don't realize it's because of the sexual trauma. And they go to find a nurturing woman to have a relationship with. And I had a roommate whose therapist told her, since she was raped by two black guys when she was 13 and couldn't handle having sex with men because it was too painful, that her therapist told her she should have sex with women. So she moves in with me, and she tries to start making me her girlfriend and tells everyone I'm her sex partner. We were no such thing. But she was also bipolar, so she wasn't really in touch with reality. Here's her therapist doing worse damage to her than the original rape by telling her to go act out a lesbian lifestyle. Yeah, that's really helpful. What a bunch of morons.
Nice.
The psychiatric profession, I could spit when I think about how stupid these people are, how lazy they are in dealing with sexual abuse, and how self-serving they are. Don't get me started. We won't go in that direction. I remember sitting in a cafe listening to two therapists whining because their patients were so hard. And when they went on vacation for a month in August and they come back, they're all just so needy and clingy. Why can't they be easy patients like, work stress? What the hell they go into this profession for? I wanted to dump my tea on their faces.
Most of the profession is now dedicated.
I dropped I had this whole fantasy sitting there how I do a comedy routine, dropping my tea on them, then trying to clean them up and dropping their sandwiches in their laps and knocking over their coffees and, sorry, till they left the damn cafe. That's what was going through my head. I was going to, I didn't actually do it, but it was a nice entertainment. I was so annoyed with those two. Useless. The profession's useless. So anyway, trauma is distinctly different from ordinary memory, dissociative memory, most accurate memory, repression, least accurate. She's claiming repression. Well, she doesn't remember any details. So clearly it wasn't a trauma because trauma burns the details in. Okay? That's that. And if she dissociated, why is it that she has the details of the groping and whatnot, names of people who claim under oath they weren't there, but then can't remember where the place was, whose party house it was, what day it was, when this party occurred? How come she can't remember any of those details, which aren't traumatic, by the way? In a normal traumatic memory, you would remember going to the house, you'd remember going in, you'd remember who you went with, you'd remember all of that, but you wouldn't remember the trauma itself. So she's got it backwards. And because she has a background in some of this neurochemistry, she's trying to fake it. But remember what I said. The profession doesn't understand traumatic memory. So with her ignorance, most people aren't taught how to do this. If you're going to specialize in trauma, you have to study that on your own. You're not going to be taught that in your regular courses. You have to learn that outside of your courses, outside of your PhD studies and so forth, because they do not normally teach it. So she is an ignoramus who can't even fake traumatic memory. See what I'm saying? Now, how many people are going to know that? 1 in a million? People who have had experience with this, like me? People who've worked with trauma survivors, studied dissociative traumatic memory versus the other forms of memory? No one's going to know the difference. They don't know how to evaluate her lying shit. Well, I do, and I'm offended beyond belief. She's setting back real abuse survivors decades. They'll never be believed again. It'll be like the False Memory Syndrome Foundation coming out, formed by perpetrators who went out and sued and shut down therapists who worked with people who had traumatic memories and set back the ability to get healing for survivors 50 years. Now this bitch who's enjoying her time in the limelight, pretending she's this wilting lily, poor suffering soul, traumatized, blah, blah, blah. No such thing is true. She should deal with her incest memories, stop accusing a guy for her political agendas, stop turning this into a circus show. This is like a Stalinist show trial. We accuse you, you can't say anything, or you're bullying the poor woman accuser. This is such crap. They're destroying this guy and his family. And even if he gets appointed to the Supreme Court, just like with Clarence Thomas, there's always going to be some asshole bringing up Anita Hill. I had some guy who is a therapist says to me, I mean, that was his profession, okay? You ask me why I despise these people. He says to me in passing, oh, well, you know, Clarence Thomas is an evil man, and he brings up Anita Hill. And I said, what, that lying black bitch who found a pubic hair on a Coke can, that's her testimony against him, or showed her a porny magazine. She's been traumatized for her whole life by that. Don't make me laugh. I grew up in the 70s. Guys had porny magazines all over the place. There were always girls because they're dumb. They don't understand men and women are interested differently in sexual stuff.
Do you know what? I have a friend.
Men want the rough sex.
I have a friend that's actually married to a woman seemingly happily, but she was a little bit whacked towards the feminist propaganda. And during the time of the Clarence Anita Hill trial or testimony, she was literally crying in front of the TV. That's otherwise seemingly intelligent.
Well, it's because she had an undealt with trauma. It has nothing to do with whether or not Clarence Thomas was guilty. And here's another thing we're seeing, this dogpiling of people claiming they were raped too, and therefore we should believe Blasey Ford. What happened to you has nothing to do with her at all. This is illogical.
Well, it's collectivism at its worst.
You deal with your memories and your shit. You aren't able to say whether or not this person's credible unless you know the kind of stuff I know about the biochemistry and memory issues in detail. I studied at UCLA. I ended up going further into the trauma, the memory and trauma stuff when I was praying with people who had been sexually abused for their entire childhoods. When I was doing prayer ministry with them, I learned a hell of a lot more. It fit hand in glove with the neurochemistry of trauma, dissociation, and memory that I learned at UCLA. I actually went out of my way to specialize in the trauma and dissociation department. So I know more than this butthead who's lying about Kavanaugh. Actually have. And what happened to somebody who's sexually assaulted, saying, oh, we should believe Blasey Ford because we were assaulted too. That doesn't prove her account is real. That doesn't prove anything. You have millions of women projecting their shit onto Blasey Ford. It does not make her credible. It doesn't make what she's saying true. It's your own shit. Stop projecting it. I had people projecting Anita Hill crap and hating Clarence Thomas, who did nothing except be accused by a nutcase who followed him around. Apparently she had the hots for him, and he wasn't interested. He was married to someone else. He's a good Catholic. And out of rage for being rejected, she makes this stuff up at the behest of the Democrats who want to destroy him because he's a conservative. I lived through the Anita Hill crap. There was no way you can Did they take the pubic hair and find out what it was? It may not have even been a pubic hair. Maybe it fell out of her nappy head. I mean, who comes up with shit like this? That is a Coke can with a pubic hair? That's her testimony, or she was shown a porny magazine? I don't even believe any of that happened. But I'll tell you this, even if it did, it's not a trauma. What the hell is she trying to destroy Clarence Thomas over shit like that? It's laughable, it's pathetic, it's idiotic. And she's a big hero to the left. Oh, Anita Hill, had to hear this for 30 years now. Anita Hill was so brave. What? Give me a break. Pathetic, stupid, a total clown show, and you're telling me Clarence Thomas is evil because of that stupid, pathetic clown show asshole saying this garbage against him? This is no different. The Democrats are reliving their glory days with Blasey Ford. Only they've done it a few better. You know, they have her in there crying, and she's the poor damn victim and all this shit. Oh, man, I despise these people. They are evil. This woman is an activist pig pretending to be a victim. It's unbelievable. Oh, I don't know. It's all organized, but I don't know who's paying for it. Bullshit. She knows. I'm supposed to believe that a person who knows nothing, who acts like she's just fallen out of the baby buggy in these hearings, this is a professor? Something's not jiving here.
Something
Well,
tells
it's because
me.
she's so traumatized by an alleged groping. That traumatized a woman who slept with 54 men in high school? A groping? I'm not buying that. And this is why they scrubbed her social media sites. And I was wondering if you knew how to go back and get if anyone had screenshots of the rubbish she posted. We need ammo against this liar bitch from hell. She was told to scrub her social media sites. How does people get that information back?
Well, someone posted a picture of her like naked holding a big bottle of liquor and all this that was theoretically posted, but I don't know for sure that it's a legit picture of her.
Exactly, because now you can alter photos and so forth. But what was posted on her own social media site should be forensically accessible. Somebody should be able to get it. It'd be great if somebody hacked it and produced all this.
Yeah, and they even had to take down the whole friggin' yearbook. I mean, what a joke. And I've seen screenshots from the yearbook, so somebody did get some before they took it down. But yeah, this whole thing, we're supposed to believe all this crap, and meanwhile there's this major scrubbing of all the facts.
Yeah. She's an activist bitch from hell with Soros links, with a big mouth. Certainly not the wilting flower she's pretending to be here.
I know, what an act. Well, I just thought that you know, I mean, the whole tone of her presentation was.
Yeah, it's an outrage. This is an outrage. How long has she been practicing her Minnie Mouse voice for this nonsense?
Yeah.
This is a woman who has seen real survivors, and she's mimicking them.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
She's mimicking them. She's been coached. She knows how to act like the poor suffering victim. She's so full of shit up to her eyeballs. And I will go back to the facts. She has no facts, no corroboration, no witnesses who do anything but swear it never happened on pain of perjury.
And countless clapping seals to say, we believe you. And
Oh, yeah, the Democrats doing their grandstanding in this hearing are beyond puking disgusting.
Anyone that came up with this nonsense, oh, we believe everything you say, should have been immediately ushered out of the hearing in a straitjacket. I mean, what a friggin' joke. What a mockery of the entire thing.
I still didn't hear that. Something distorted.
I'm saying that anyone that was doing that nonsense going, we believe everything you're saying, at the friggin'
right,
hearing,
yeah.
they should have been ushered out in friggin' straitjacket.
The Democrats will believe anything she's saying because it's politically advantageous to them to knock out Kavanaugh, and they don't care who they destroy to do that. The dumbbells who don't realize that just because something happened to them doesn't mean it happened to everyone else in the world, especially not this person who has political motivations for doing what she's doing, if not financial ones and a whole bunch of other things. Oh, yeah, she's claiming she couldn't pay for her own lawyers. This is a woman who owns a big fancy house in Santa Cruz and another one in Palo Alto. Oh, yeah, she's so impoverished. Can I have one of those homes? It's disgusting. The Democrats are beyond reprehensible. Now, you know, Lindsey Graham gives her the benefit of the doubt of possibly, you know, something might have happened to her, but not with Kavanaugh because nobody corroborates that Kavanaugh was there. Nobody corroborates any of her story. In fact, they signed sworn depositions on pain of perjury that it never happened. And they were named by her. in her story.
Yep.
It's disgraceful. This is a disgraceful co-opting of the confirmation hearings for a Stalinist-style show trial where they want to lynch Kavanaugh, destroy his family, destroy his reputation forever, destroy his career forever for political gain. And if we're going to have to listen to this crying fraud yammering about how she thought she was going to be totally annihilated if she came forward, why don't we hear Kavanaugh's wife and children crying about what this is doing to their lives right now? Can you imagine his two girls being bullied in school over this?
Yeah.
And what they're saying about their father?
Yeah, just wonderful.
These filth don't care who they destroy. Blasey Ford shouldn't care about anyone but herself and keeping abortion legal. Remember the bitch reporter who said she would get down on her knees and give Bill Clinton a blowjob every day of her life just for keeping abortion legal? That's the mentality of the left.
Yep.
That's that mentality. And Blasey Ford is one of those. She actually makes money using the abortion pill. She's trying to do a study showing it's good for depression. Who in their right mind would prescribe the abortion pill, which is lethal to some people, for depression? I say Blasey Ford should be taking it every day till she hemorrhages from every orifice and croaks.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I probably got to...
The abortion pill has killed girls. They've hemorrhaged to death using that. And that is going to be considered for treatment for depression? What depraved mind wants to do such a thing?
Yeah, hardly anyone.
I'll tell you why Blasey Ford wants to do that. She wants an excuse to dole it out like candy. She wants to make it available to anyone, any use for it whatsoever, including depression, just to give it the veneer of legitimacy to prescribe this and hide the fact of what people are really using it for. Oh, well, yeah, just prescribe that to the person for depression. Lying skank. He is a total criminal.
Yep. Dr. Ford, you wouldn't have any political motivation. Oh, no, I never thought of that.
Oh, did they ask her that?
Oh, someone actually did. I was like, oh, no.
Oh, that's a joke.
I mean,
a liar is a liar is a liar.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that settles it. She said she has no political motivation. So apparently she was neutral on Kavanaugh. She's the only one in her whole school friend.
Big lie. Somebody needs to get her social sites and blast them everywhere. Of course, you know, if you did that, Google wouldn't allow you to do it, and Twitter wouldn't allow you to do it, and all these. The left controls everything.
Yeah, I guess you saw the feature, the leaked video of the Google weekly meeting after Trump won.
Oh, that was
commiserating over their horrible loss.
That was so stupid. But after having somebody I know call the election, what about people who were traumatized by the election? I'm like, seriously? My suggestion is they get therapy.
Do they mean in 2012?
Oh, my God. Why is it that the libtards are so freaking mentally unhinged? Yeah, losing an election, that doesn't qualify as trauma. Okay? And for somebody who thinks it is, they need therapy.
Well,
now, can we move on to something sensible?
There is some woman that saw one of my tweets, and she didn't like it. So she noticed that I had Alex Jones for my profile picture. It has Alex Jones' face with tape on it. And she goes, oh, I wish that tape went over your nose, too. And so I responded. I go, you know, your sociopathy and narcissism are the dominant features of the mental disorder that is liberalism. And I said, it's so common that they literally petitioned to have
Yeah, to have it removed from the DSM.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, I mean, wouldn't you do that in a medical journal, too? So many people have cancer, it's now considered normal. Just take it out of the medical books.
Yeah, so anyway, I go...
Cancer is normal because everyone is going to get it sometime in their life.
So I said, it's also accompanied with chronic depression. I hope you feel better soon.
Oh, God.
But the narcissism is unbelievably profound in the Democrat personality. Basically, if somebody thinks of something that morning about the way something should be, if they encounter anybody during that day that even hints at a mild disagreement, then it's an act of aggression, and thus the microaggression is born.
Well, Democrats don't bother with microaggressions; they're macroaggressors.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know that. I'm just saying that anything, the slightest upset to their tentative notions that they adopted that very moment or morning is like some aggression or assault against them if someone dares even raise an eyebrow.
Blasey Ford's brother worked for Fusion GPS.
Yeah, I already knew about the fusion connection.
Anyway, I'll call you back. I have to take care of something.
Okay, yeah. Talk to you later.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.